afternoon, everyone. Hope lunch break was good for everybody. I'm here to share a perspective on project operations, on the platform, on the system. HFA, we're early adopters to the software, and we've learned a lot along the way. So I hope some of these lessons you guys can apply to your organizations. So my name is Danny Henkel. I've been leading our ERP project for about 6 years now. We have, I'm part of the Technology and Innovation Group, which is basically our operations team. I manage everything from the back end to some of the front end, UX, UI, some extensions and customizations, things of that sort. And today I'll be talking about our adoption of the platform into our operations processes, our organizational systems, and ultimately how it's set the foundation for innovation and scaling in the future. So I'll go over a quick intro. I'll discuss a little bit about why we chose project operations. I'll go through a little bit of our phased adoption, basically, how we brought the system online slowly but surely into our organization. I'll discuss our PO Lite to our PO ERP transition, which we are still currently undergoing. And then I'll leave some time for a Q&A at the end. So a little bit about HFA. As mentioned, we are a architecture and engineering firm based in the US. We work in Mexico as well. We have about 615 employees today, but in 2021 we had about 250, so we've scaled quite quickly in that time period. We have professional services that we offer. We're a project-driven firm. We have projects that run anywhere from a couple months to a couple years, a couple weeks to a couple years. So there's a lot of variability. As far as the Microsoft stack that we use, project operations, Power BI, Power Apps, and of course the O365 backend, and all the things that come with that. So we're a Microsoft shop, and that's one of the reasons that project operations made a lot of sense for us. So, why project operations? Back in 2021, when we started evaluating this project, and even earlier than that, HFA had disconnected systems, lots of manual workarounds, and inconsistent project data. So our firm is multidisciplinary, so we have architecture, engineering, structural, civil, all of the disciplines in one house. And in a lot of ways, we operate as many different companies, many different organizations under one roof. That is both efficient, but also leads to data silos. One of the biggest problems we were trying to solve is visibility into financial metrics or operational metrics that we just realistically couldn't pull without a unified platform. We needed better visibility, reporting, and operational consistency behind our projects. We initially deployed in 2020 the sales module. So moderately promising results, but we didn't have let's say, a project adoption direction with it. We didn't have a clean ALM process, so application lifecycle management. Basically everything was just created in unmanaged layers on top of the solution, which led to some messy problems. We also had rapid firm growth projections, so anything from client acquisitions to other firm acquisitions were on the table. So choosing a system that would scale and be adaptable to our needs was very important. As you guys may be aware, project operations was in its early days in 2021, but it checked a lot of boxes. It integrated seamlessly with the sales module. We were already set up in the Dynamics platform from a administrative side, so the lift and shift on that end made a lot of sense. So, phase one, early adoption and proving the value. To be transparent, this is when proMX stepped in to help us implement the system, and specifically implement Project Operations Lite. In 2021, our headcount again was 250, and at this point we had about 100 weekly users, which is moderately typical, I would say. We did a phased rollout to pilot groups and super users of the project operations features, so the project management features, etc. The team member app became our kind of administrative hub, if you will, with some customizations and extensions for kind of day-to-day processes that we needed to account for in the Dynamics platform. So think email tracking or file transfer tracking and some construction or architecture and construction specific functions like RFI and so request for information and submittal tracking. We did not integrate with our ledger except for a one-way sync between our accounting system and project operations, such that we could surface, our accounts, our contacts, our projects in one platform. We had a couple Power BI embeds, just lightweight financial reporting, but we also started to look at Power Automate workflows and basic integrations between different third-party systems. Smartsheet comes to mind. Our main focus from a UX and kind of a UI design perspective was usability and adoption. So quick iteration on top of user feedback was kind of the name of the game at that point. We were small enough to kind of rapidly iterate with minimal disruption, and finding and identifying those quick operational wins was kind of the name of the game at those early stages. As the company grew and as our adoption with project operations grew in 2022 and 2023, our headcount grew to 350 people, but we were still looking at about 150, maybe half the company for weekly usage. Again, growing with the super users, if you want to call them that, or pilot groups to understand the limitations of the platform. So the project management, the resource management, that was kind of the main focus of our operational teams at that point, was figuring out exactly how we would like to model the projects in the system, more or less. As we started to build on that operational maturity, that's when we needed a more standard process for customizing the system. That's where a partner like proMX came in to help us standardize our ALM processes, environment cleanup processes, basically, such that we could properly test and demo different features or try out different feature enhancements from the Microsoft team in our environments. During phase 2, which I'll call basically 2024 onward, we've really focused on reporting maturity through Power BI. So basically being able to surface that project operations data alongside our accounting data, which again is in a different system, that has proved real value for our operations teams. Additionally, we were able to kind of leverage the flexibility of the Dynamics platform to build out some core business critical integrations. For example, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Autodesk Revit. It's basically a 3D CAD program that we use heavily for production purposes. Basically, you can create construction documents and deliver them from that program. A key legacy system that allowed for standardization and consistency across our delivered products became unusable. Very quickly, we had to basically repoint and remap a critical integration to work with Dynamics and project operations as the data source. The platform is flexible enough that in a relatively short amount of time, we were able to account for that schema, the processes to input that data, and basically have operational consistency, even though we had lost that legacy system that drove the data source for that integration. So that was a very, very nice proof of concept in terms of, okay, how flexible can this platform be? What problems can it solve? During the phase 2 here, which I'm labeling as 2024 onward, we saw a notable uptick in adoption across all of our teams. So again, focusing on those super users, on the teams that are getting in the program and finding the best way to operate within project operations has been key. And they have been able to basically be advocates and drive adoption internally as well. One of the bigger shifts that we've seen is this becomes less of another tool that you use and more of a operational backbone. So instead of our users going to legacy systems to run an Excel report that may take 5 or 10 minutes, we see them going directly to project operations to run the embedded Power BI reports, or basically use that as a launch pad for other systems. Again, the Dynamics platform is flexible enough that you can kind of use it as that hub to point your users in many different directions, just depending on what your organization is trying to do. We've also seen a notable uptick in the past 2-3 years in our headcount. So again, from 350 users up to 600, which is relatively speaking quite significant. Has been the platform has been able to scale and meet those needs of our teams as they shift over time. So currently, we are transitioning from the Project Ops Lite deployment to the Project Ops ERP integrated deployment with Dynamics F&O. This project has taken quite some time in terms of understanding how our operational model would fit into the project operations, basically data schemas, et cetera. We have internally introduced many new concepts like the project contracts, several new legal entities, even intercompany structures, so intercompany and intercurrency as well. And proMX has stepped in to provide advisory, migration support, and continuity across our transition phases. So one of the main, challenges that we're facing right now is basically scale. So at 600 users, 600 plus, we have many processes that may have worked with 200 people, but we have to adapt them to work with 600 people. We have more entities, more countries, more complexity, just generally speaking. As mentioned, we have multi-currency, intercompany, and a legal structure that project operations can, we can map that to. And importantly, the system is evolving to support projects and the operating model behind the business. With the F&O transition, the F&O implementation that we're currently in, one of the strong points we've seen from project operations is the ability to flexibly model our business operation structure with minimal impact on our current operations. So there's probably opinions on whether or not that's the best approach. But given our rapid growth and our operational nuances, let's call them, we have to stay flexible and agile, and the platform has done nothing but support the kind of flexibility that we need to continue scaling and growing on top of this unified kind of enterprise platform. So we can transition into some question and answers here. I'm happy to answer anything about our adoption from Project Ops Lite into our the ERP connected scenarios. But some of the lessons we've learned is starting with adoption where it's possible has been effective. So teams that may have a structured process, but they run it all through an Excel sheet or a Access database. Those have been very good candidates to basically map their operational processes over to project operations. We found in a lot of ways the system is less important than the process, and Dynamics is flexible enough such that you can basically model the system to kind of fit a process and kind of grow it and adopt it and change it over time. It's adaptable. Governance is a buzzword, especially with Copilot and AI tools, but designing for governance early has saved our bacon, so to speak, many times. So being able to, again, we're a Microsoft shop, but tie everything back to a centralized governance model has been has eased adoption in many ways, especially with, again, Copilot and AI coming online more and more. We're seeing a notable uptick in the need to have governance and security kind of shored up before you launch anything live to production. So we've heavily leaned on reporting, so through Power BI or the out-of-the-box reporting functions in Dynamics to drive adoption. And more than that, it's helped us build trust. So being able to demonstrate and show to our users through a, let's say, like a direct query Power BI report, that the data they're putting in the system relates back to the operational data that they're used to seeing has been a very effective way to basically get teams to adopt and get teams onboarded into the platform. The fourth bullet point, expect your data model to evolve. That is something that has really shown itself to be accurate here recently, especially with the F&O implementation. As our firm has scaled and grown, our data model has changed moderately significantly over time. So with just the operational model, you know, what is our org structure like? How do our resources, how do we bucket them into resourcing units? How are we going to handle cost and sales prices? You know, those sorts of questions are ever evolving, and the platform does allow for you some flexibility in terms of how you can model that data as well. Importantly, choosing a partner who can support change over time, and I swear this isn't a shameless plug for proMX, but they have been very helpful in understanding not only how to adopt the Microsoft platform generally, or the Dynamics platform generally, but how to account for different features that are coming online, or how to basically prep for you know, those features, or build a foundation for things like Copilot or AI, or some of the or I guess technically fun and shiny, if you will, the new and shiny features within project operations. So I'm thinking the what if analyses and the things of that nature through kind of the AI extensions in the platform. So more or less, investing in the super users and cross-functional ownership of the platform has been very effective. And reassessing the architecture when scale changes the business has been very manageable within the system as well.